And you and I know, Roshan, that short-term stability is one thing, long-term stability is another thing, and hard choices really need to be made in terms of structural reform. Taxation reform has been particularly challenging in Sri Lanka recently. Are we seeing the right signals at a top-down level, at a policy and a government level to really build lasting debt sustainability for Sri Lanka?
Yes, so I think if you look at the four sectors of the economy, so on the monetary side, I think we have seen a lot of the reforms that have taken place, and that's why we've seen inflation come to where it is now. But if you look at all the other pillars, so if you look at the fiscal reforms, there's still a long way to go. I mean, we've done some of the reforms on the revenue side, but very little of the expenditure reforms. And that is critical because there's only so much of revenue that you can increase. You have to have expenditure, very strict expenditure management. And hopefully that will come through the budget, but I'm not so sure about it. Right. As well as the reform on the state-owned enterprises, reform needs to be pushed and pushed very fast.
So divesting state assets and yes. stakes in state entities, privatization to alleviate the debt burden, that needs to accelerate. We need to see more work and more progress on that front, yes.
Absolutely. And the other two sectors are the external sector. The central bank has managed to show up some reserve, but that is mainly coming from remittances and some from probably tourism. But the export sector, again, is seeing a lot of they're finding it really difficult this year, mainly because of the global recession. But that also is a problem with the inherent structure of our exports. We depend on very few commodities or very few products and very few markets. So that diversification needs to take place. I mean, we've talked about this for decades. And growth needs to be started. So all about to talk about the structural reforms on the factor markets, like the land market, the labor market. I mean, we're not even anywhere near, yes. doing anything to ensure that those markets are liberalized or made much more flexible, which is necessary if you're going to kickstart growth. And growth is vital in this whole process.
Indeed. Roshan, how important do you feel the Ghana and the Zambia model in terms of debt relief, that model under the common framework of the G20 that was formulated back in June, how important is that? How significant is that? And are they templates that can be ascribed and applied to Sri Lanka?
So I think it's important to come up with some kind of international framework because we can see how we're kind of a test case in some sense. In this whole restructuring process. But I think there needs to be some kind of like a template on how this happens because there are many countries going forward who might end up in this similar situation. So I think that it's important for the multilateral agencies, the creditors to come together and to formulate some kind of a template so that the process does not get dragged out like we've seen happening here. So I think these are good initiatives, but I think that more needs to be done on this front.